I always knew my kit had a gap, but this shoot made it impossible to ignore. Floor-to-ceiling windows on every side. I had lights, but not enough power to compete with that much daylight. And honestly, the only thing that saved that job was the client asking for black and white. Without that, I had nothing. So I fixed the gap. And I'm going to show you 3 real jobs where you can see exactly what changed. Up until that point, my kit was this: the Zhiyun X100, G60, X60, M20C, and a couple of tube lights. Let me run you through how I ended up with each one and why. It started with these two, the X100 and the G60. The first lights I ever bought, and they've been on basically every job since. Different cities, different countries, these two just went with me everywhere. The X100 was my key light. 100 watts, and I just trusted it. I'd use it on enough shoots that I knew exactly what I was going to get. If I was packing light and I had to pick one, it was this one. The G60 was my full. I used it for full rather than the X60 because of the form factor. It's just more versatile to position. I can mount it in places the X60 can't go, get into tighter spots, tuck it where it needs to be without it being in the way. The X60 was an accident. I bought it because I thought I needed the RGB version. But it turns out I really didn't. I barely use the RGB. But it accidentally gave me a third light. And having a hairlight in the setup does make a difference. So it stayed. The M20C is a 20-watt light. It fits in a jacket pocket and I use it to fix rooms. Not every location is interesting. Sometimes the background is just flat or ugly, or there's nothing going on behind the subject. This one lives on a shelf or behind a plant and quietly sorts that out. You don't notice it when it's working, you only notice when it's missing. And then these two small Ulanzi tube lights. They live in my nano case and they come on basically every job. In my usual YouTube setup, they sit behind me as background lights, but on location, they're mostly just utility lights. I stick one magnetically to the car boot when I'm packing down, or I just hold it in the dark. It's the least glamorous thing in the kit, but I never leave home without them. And here's something that still surprises me. The X100, the X60, the G60, and the M20C, all these 4 lights fit into this one small bag. That was the kit, and for a long time it was enough. I built a lot of work on those lights, but there was one situation none of them could fix, and it kept coming up. That's the difference. That light off and on is the Zhiyun G200, 200 watts, and that's the gap my other lights couldn't fill. When you've got that much ambient light coming through windows, a 100-watt light just disappears into the room. It's not even a competition. The G200 doesn't disappear. It controls the room. And it's not just windows. This is a shoot where I placed the G200 outside a glass ceiling to fake sunlight. Off and on. Same principle, just enough power to do something a smaller light can't. Before I bought it, I looked at the X200. Same wattage, but portable with V-mount support. But the real-world output without a modifier just wasn't the leap I needed. I also looked at the G300, 300 watts, newer model, but the output difference from the G200 wasn't as dramatic as the wattage suggests, and it doesn't come with a case. For a light that travels on jobs, that case matters. So the G200 it was. And I want to show you 3 jobs where you can actually see what it does. Before I get into those jobs, I want to show you something else I've been building alongside all of this. Every job I shoot, there's a whole layer of organization that happens around the shoot itself. The prep, the gear, the crew, the documents, the delivery. For a long time, I was running all that across Notion, spreadsheets, WhatsApp, Google Drive, Frame.io. It worked, but just barely. So I built something. This is Take Studio. Honestly, I built it for myself, but the more I used it, the more I thought other filmmakers would get something out of it too. So I'm putting it out there. You create a project and everything lives in one place. Shot lists, call sheets, packing lists, gear management, crew, documents, all connected. Before I shoot, I can build out the shot list, sort the gear, send the call sheet, and during the shoot, I've got everything on my phone. After, it's all logged, all there for the next job. Invited collaborators on Take Studio work for free. You pay as the owner, your crew just gets access. I'm genuinely proud of what it's become, and if it solves the same problem for you that it solved for me, then it's worth checking out. Anyway, back to the jobs. Job 1, Kin Coffee. This is brand content. The owner was talking about how they started the business and the heart behind the brand. A beautiful space, bright white room, 3 windows along one wall pushing light from the same direction. I ran the G200 at full power. 1 light. He's properly exposed, the window stays in the frame with detail. I did a small grade in post, lifted him slightly, pulled the window down 1/3 of a stop, but the G200 did the heavy lifting. Without that power, there's nothing to grade. Job number 2, Benjamin Bigot, a custom shoemaker here locally to me. Tools on the walls, workbenches, a lot of character. But it also had ceiling strip lights and a staircase with a big glass skylight above it. A lot of competing light sources. First thing I did was turn off the ceiling strip lights. Then I placed the G200 on the right-hand side, bounced it off the wall, and that lit the entire room. Everything you see in the background is just that one bounce. No other artificial light source in that space. Then I put the X100 as the key on the left, opposite side from the bounce. Dark light throughout the frame. Shadow on the right side of his face, depth throughout the room. And the skylight above the stairs giving me natural separation from behind, lifting him off the background. Now for different shots, I couldn't bounce that light off that wall anymore because that would mean I would be filming from the bright side of his face and I didn't want to do that. So I turned the G200 and bounced it off the opposite corner instead. Same principle, different wall. A completely different feel, different light direction, different mood, different moment. Same room, same one light. That's what 200 watts gives you. Enough headroom that even after the bounce, you still got something to work with. Job number 3. Mid-shoot, we changed positions, moved from the other side of the room. Normally the X100 would have been enough for that corner as a key light, but the G200 was already handling the windows on the other side. So rather than just swapping lights, I just turned it. No point in changing what's already working. There was also a chandelier in the room with regular bulbs and those caused flickering in the footage. So I just unscrewed them. That took like 2 minutes. Then used the X100 to light behind the subjects instead. 3 different jobs, 3 different problems, one light doing the heavy lifting in all of them. That's what the G200 changed for me. The rest of the kit, those were already doing the job. They still do, but the G200 was the piece I'd known was missing for a long time. It just took the right job to finally pull the trigger on it. I didn't plan this kit. And honestly, if I'd had the money to throw out gear from the start, I probably wouldn't have ended up with this. I would have bought the wrong things. Instead, every light came in because a specific job made it impossible to ignore. That's not a bad way to build a kit. Working with what you have forces you to understand what you actually need and what you don't. The G200 is the most recent example of that. I knew the gap was there for a long time. I just had to wait until I could justify it. If you've had a shoot where light just couldn't keep up, drop it in the comments. I'm curious what the situation was. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more of this content, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.